But so recently you were on the Jordan Peterson podcast, which is a fantastic interview. I recommend it to everyone watching.
Oh, thank you.
And I believe during it you said something like your time at Columbia University in New York. There were things happening there that were crazier than North Korea.
Yeah.
So what is that? That seems because we talk about this guy who thinks North Korea is great.
Yeah.
But what is happening in North?
In North Columbia?
in the Democratic People's State of Colombia.
Yeah, exactly. So I mean, some people got so emotional, why do you compare to North Korea to America? But I was actually comparing America's extreme left culture to North Korea. I was more specifying, not America in general, right? So that is the first clarification. And I mean, where do I even begin? So before class at Columbia, I was there for 4 years. Every single class starts with saying your pronouns first, then your name. So imagine if it's 90 people lecture hall. You hear what their pronouns are and their names are, what they're studying. Instead of me trying to understand what their desires are, who they are as a person, I am obsessed to remembering their pronouns. So I don't become a bigot and come off as a person who is not inclusive or thoughtful enough. Think about the mental energy waste, right? And these people gender fluid. So they say, I'm gender fluid. So they can say, this morning, before the class, I feel like a man. But now at the end of class, I feel like a woman. How the heck do I know that? How they feel like at the mood? So how do I ever, predict what they're going to feel like at the moment?
Well, surely for somebody like you whose English isn't their first language, wasn't there any kind of, wouldn't they have cut you some slack? I know, in Chinese, he and she, it sounds the same. And so in English, I know a lot of Chinese people who mix up he and she.
Mix up he and she all the time.
Yeah.
Maybe they're just being very inclusive and gender fluid.
But so, yeah, surely they must have, would have cut you some slack, right?
No. So this is the thing. I'm in Korea the same. You, no, he or she, the same. You, me, right? You in Korea the same. But the thing is here, now I still have to learn how to say they in my sentence as a pronouns. I'm still not good at it. And one day, he was, born guy, but they, it's still confusing. He or they told me it's ridiculous.
Why are you having a problem with this? It's simple.
This is why it's crazy. How this is not crazy, right? I'm so they told me, why am I not doing it right? And almost crying, right? I think they thought I was systemically oppress them, not acknowledging who they are. And I'm trying my best. So it made me not wanting to talk to anybody after all.
So some people took issue and got upset.
Yeah, and they told me directly at the end of the class, and they were so tearing eyes. And his poor day was so offended. So I'm this is crazy. I still cannot do this thing in my sentence after 4 years of practicing. But this is not the only thing. Professor literally sends you email before the class. Oh, we are going to talk about this material. This material talks about why colonialism, why supremacy, racism, injustice, rape, victim, all of that. So if this triggers you, don't do the reading. Don't even come to class. And in the middle of the class, if it triggers you, just leave the class. Don't even need to tell me. So that's every warning that professors give you. But then why the heck do you spend this fortune and 4 years of your life go there if you are not there to study and searching for the truth, right?
Well, for them, it's their parents' money, so it's not as much of an issue.
But these people and complaining about those student loans, right? They say we are getting debt to go to university, but then when they go to university, if it triggers them, they don't want to learn about it. So then I don't understand the point of education, first of all. Then all these other things, right? I was talking to my professor one day, and she was saying the fact that you're letting men to hold the door is showing them that man is overpowering you. Their aggression, because they can that's the thing. That's how extreme they are. The fact that you're holding a door for somebody is an oppression. for a woman. So I was saying, no, I'm holding a door for a woman, like be having a manner, right? Being thoughtful. And then she was like, Yeonmi, you're brainwashed. So that's every time I challenge my professor, they just go there. You're brainwashed. That's why you're thinking this way. I mean, even North Koreans wouldn't do that. Even North Koreans wouldn't come up with this narrative. Every single thing comes to white men, the horrible thing, the most horrible thing that destroys the world. Yeah, they were in a way hating white men, the Western civilization, more intensely than North Koreans do at this point.
Really?
Yes, at some point I was thinking, am I in North Korea or am I in America, right? What an irony. Like, I escaped that country, now ended up in this country where I have to intensely hate Americans, right? Intensely hate everything about the Western democracy. That's what they do at Columbia.
This is what they're being taught.
Yeah. So that's the thing. Like, the Columbia has this course studying Western civilization of music and art. So every class, they say before the class, so who has a problem study Western civilization music? And everybody raising their hand. And they're saying is because of the Western men, right, the white guys colonized Asia and Africa, they messed up entire humanity. So now they silenced all those talented minority women artists. Now we have to ending up studying these bigots like Mozart and Beethoven. So I was thinking, well, after all, this is the West. And in Korea, when we study Korean music, we wouldn't say that, right?
Oh, Yeonmi, you're brainwashed.
Exactly.
So sorry.
Exactly. So I was saying, like, what? I mean, this West is a part of human history. What is like wrong with studying part of history, right? And this is the West after all. And everyone's like looking at me. I'm like alien to them. And all they can just come up with it, oh, you're brainwashed. And like I'm like hopeless to them. And eventually I just had to shut up, and so I can pass the class and graduate, right? There's no point for me to argue with every single one of them who will never believe me.
I mean, were you ever like, hey, I grew up in North Korea. I was a slave in China. Let me tell you what real problems are. Did that ever factor in?
Well, I try to share my experience, right? Like the actual rape, actual oppression, actual slavery that happening in this contemporary world, not something happened like many hundreds of years ago. But the thing is, like, for them, I mean, for them, it's so weird. The oppression they feel is so real. They feel like the white men out to get them in any second. I think that's the thing. That was the thing after 4 years. These people are not just pretending to be oppressed. They actually feel oppressed. They feel actually terrified because they are brainwashed. They think there's an enemy. Those white men are trying to kill them all. So that's how I understood. Like when we think we are living in the external or physical world, but we live in our brain. In their brain, though they are living in this war zone, right? So it was so sad to these kids. Like why they have so much. They are the best generation of entire humanity. We've never been prosper like this. Like if you're not grateful now, nobody should have ever been grateful. This is the best time to be alive, especially if you are living in New York City in this 21st century. But then they feel like they are the most oppressed people in this entire human history. I mean, where do we blame that? Where are we going after this? With this generation of people, they think they are the victims.
How did that happen?
Yeah, I know, it's crazy. I was thinking at Columbia University. My dad went to Columbia, and I think he started in 1950. And one of the first classes he took as a freshman was a class called accent reduction, because he had a strong Brooklyn accent. And so the idea at the time, and this is 1950, so 70 years ago, that like if you had too strong of an accent, you couldn't get a job or fit in. So the idea was to try to help people like get rid of that sort of thing. And now, like, imagine a class like that. It would be considered like oppression to try to help people get rid of unintelligible accents. Right?
That is so true. Yeah, that is so true.
Well, so what was this like for you? Like you escaped North Korea, you escaped China. Finally, you're in the free world.
Yeah.
What's it like to be what happened? Like you surely you must have been like, oh, this is great to be here, and then you see this. That must have caused like a big disconnect.
Yeah, so that is the first time I learned that actually in life you need a problem, real problem, because not having a problem is a problem. And these people never had the problems. Now they're in this, right? I mean, they find every single thing to be offended. That's all they're spending their energy on. They spend entire their brain power to be offended and triggered. Like even, I mean, they say, oh, why can't you not pronounce my name like properly, right? They're coming from some absurd country that I never heard of. And then demanding that I need to pronounce their language like the native speaker. I mean, I don't care when people call him like Yami or Yeonmi, whatever it is, right? It's like they never spoke Korean in their life. And I mean, why is that a reason you need to be offended? So now professors, demanding you to send them recording of your own name before the class. So they study the name instead of trying their best to teach you how actually to think about the problem, how to understand history. Instead of that, they are spending their energy to show how inclusive they are by studying your name with your physical recording of your name. And this is a place of, the great thinkers that supposedly come from, right? Like people go to Colombia, a lot of them gonna become the leaders of this world. And this is the worldview, this is justice they understand. They think this is justice, right? This is human rights. And these people like talking about human rights, like you don't know what human rights violation look like, actually, right? You don't know like
you
oppression.
Do.
But they don't believe me. They don't. So yeah, that was the most bizarre, and it so saddens me. One thing I learned is like I'm not gonna send my son to this like insane schools, and it makes me not wanting my son to go to any public school at this point.